Okay. I'm not really entirely sure how to deal with this, so I'm going to kind of dump it in Lynn's lap. Lynn, I mentioned at the outset that we had people gathered at a number of universities across the continent of Latin America, of Ibero-America. And I have since learned that in our meeting in the Mexican Congress, there are some 60 people gathered, which include researchers, professors, youth, and others. And during the course of the last hour or so, we have gotten an explosion of questions coming in from these various gatherings. The problem is that what the questions all express, and rather than going through each of them, the fact is that what all the questions basically express is a concern about the benefits and implications of NAWAPA for Mexico in particular and for Latin America as a whole, in which, I mean, there is skepticism about guarantees that the benefits will be fair among all the implicated nations, whether they'll be good for Mexico. One line of comment is that Lynn is just talking about the U.S., and that those of us who are south of the U.S. border have a historical basis for some justified paranoia about developments in the U.S. and that and in this context, for those of us who are concerned with pursuing a policy of ensuring the availability of water and power to this region of the world, they want you to comment on it. There seems to be some concern that somehow in practice the potential is there to transform water into a commodity for speculation. So you can figure out how to deal with this one.
No, there's no such problem. The problem is that, look, I dealt with this in Mexico with President Lopez Portillo, and when people in Mexico will recognize what Lopez Portillo was as president of Mexico, they will probably have a clearer view of U.S.-Mexico relationships inherently than they will have as when they take the opposite view. What has happened is, then, in 1982, when I had a number of meetings on a number of related questions. At the time, the Reagan administration was young, and I had an ear in those quarters. But we had a meeting with people from all over the region, a series of meetings. It was active, from Argentina, less of Brazil, but most of the Spanish-speaking areas. Peru was, and since that time, 1982-83, pretty much these countries of South and Central America have been destroyed by successful British intervention, including intervention into U.S. government affairs. Now, today, Mexico has virtually nothing left of the excellent productive potential for economy that it had in 1982. That potentiality was destroyed. And it was destroyed by interests like Henry Kissinger, who was down there on that operation then in 1982. You take the UN proceedings, which President Lopez Portillo addressed the United Nations organization in an address on this situation, and you look at Mexico then, and you look at it since then, and I will tell you that Mexico has been systemically destroyed ever since then. And the takeover of the Bank of Mexico by foreign interests against the sovereign interests was one of the ways this happened. I can tell you that in every country that I know of in South America, a similar kind of problem exists. Whenever the United States government is controlled by British interests, that's what happens. Now, if anyone in South Mexico or south of that border wants to have the interests of their country defended, get rid of the British influence in your country and also help us do it in ours. Because you have to look at a project like this, as I propose. It's a project which is designed to succeed. It's the project you need. Look at Mexico. Look at northern Mexico. What happened to the water project in northern Mexico? What happened to the plan? Gangsters, opium-pushing, drug-pushing gangsters prevent a project of improving the existing water in that area, which could be managed to increase the agricultural output and raise the standard of living. What is being done? No, gangsters tied to drug pushers in the United States and to financial interests, like big, powerful financial interests, British organized in Mexico and elsewhere, destroy these countries there. You're talking about the United States as the bugbear? No, we're not the bugbear. Your British friends are. Your British advisors. Look at the oligarchs. Look at the drug pushers. These are the enemies. Look at the threat to Colombia right now. The attempt to get the druggies back in there as a power in Colombia. Look what happened to the job that was done on Peru. Look what's been done on all these countries. I mean, what? What was the fight we had on Argentina? I was in the middle of that. I was there. I know what happened. I know what happened to the United States. British influence. A Secretary of Defense of the United States did everything possible to crush Argentina on the Malvinas issue. And he did it for the British. He was a British agent. What you people in these countries have to realize is your enemy is the British Empire. And your enemy in the United States are the servants of the British Empire. Your enemy is Wall Street and Boston are the British Empire. That's the enemy. Now, if you want to go around and say the United States is your enemy, you're being foolish. It's not the United States that's your enemy. It's the British Empire and British imperial influence, which is our enemy. I was there. I was in on the fight. I was advised, but the government of Mexico asked me to assist them on this question. I was involved. I know what we plan to do. It could have been done. And the problem would have been solved as we intended. I've been in country after country where I've been involved in these things, these kinds of things. I know what these guys do. When people talk about the United States being the problem, yeah, we got some problems in the United States, but it doesn't help us when you kiss the butt of the British.